We had a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Director Pierce and a second by Director Bianco to approve the consent agenda as presented. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redford. Bianco.
Aye.
Director Pierce.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye. Okay, now we will move on to action items. Action item A is installment payment plan. Approve installment payment plan agreement. Oh, and there is a staff report, so I will turn that over to John.
So these, it's just for the record here. So these staff reports were written last week, and then the day of Monday. Tim and I, we tagged the this one particularly. So this is the installment payment plan. This will be the second installment payment plan the district has initiated. It's one currently customers here tonight. It's a two-step process. Tonight, the board is approving the terms and conditions. Subsequent meeting, the actual assessment of the plan. Some of the comments the board had about the installment payment plan were not incorporated into this. This is our existing plan. The comments specifically of that the plan should be paid off on transfer or sale of home. We're not including this. As we move on to other projects, specifically Horizon Drive, staff and legal counsel will work on amending the installment payment plan to incorporate those changes and others. With that, I think we have comments.
The property owner was report that he came in and he wanted to start the installment payment plan process. So we have a checklist and that's packet. And so we went through the capacity fees, and the total capacity fees are $25,500. It was like a repayment of 20 years, and the prime interest rate on 629.20 was 3.5%. So it's almost been 1% building prime. So his interest rate would be 4.5%. And because our tax roll is due no later than August 10th, I've already sent that in. So upon approval next month by the board, Mr. Pearl will have to pay $1,910.50 for the first year to be able to catch up.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
He's not currently annexed. Laura,
Yes, everybody's paying on their
didn't I say? Okay, why is the annexation fees there if it's already annexed? Oh, the annexation. Okay, okay. Trying to save your money there.
Just gave him hope and then dashed it. Did you have something, Mr. Battles?
Few questions and comments.
No, he's not paying the energy because the energy is
Okay. Okay.
That was going to be one of my comments. Our policy doesn't currently provide that the annexation fee is part of the installment payment plan. Talk about changing that for Horizon. But we'll owe the annexation fee and connect for up to this point. That's one comment. It sounds like that's not an issue here. Sections, the contact information under section 13 of the agreement. John mentioned there isn't a due on sale provision in this contract, and it isn't part of our policy presently. There has been discussion of adding that to our policy going forward. Just because it's not in our policy now doesn't mean we couldn't include it in this agreement. We want to do that. The agreement that we enter into is based on policy. We depart from that policy on an agreement by agreement basis. At this point, we want to you have that discretion. And then a couple of questions, probably for Wendy. I was just curious, there's a charge in there for an auxiliary structure, dwelling unit. Is that be calculated based on the capacity of the ordinance? Where that came from. And then finally, the total came in at $25,564. There's an amortization schedule that shows that that's going to be paid, but I'm wondering if that needs to be reduced by the initial payment that's coming in, and then the new amortization schedule run on the reduced amount. I don't know if that amortization schedule is probably part of the agreement. I think it's for information purposes.
Yeah.
But I did have that question.
Yeah, we would have to do that.
And as far as your recommendation, because we have talked about having it be part of, to be paid when the house sells, is that something you recommend that we do? I know.
I really think that's a policy level decision. There were discussions about doing it that way, but the policy was adopted, and for whatever reason, it's not that requirement. You'll get paid back sooner going forward. The more of these you have, you've got that in there. It's just a question of how flexible and how many you want to be. Again, on a policy level.
To that, in the past, there's been issues where it actually affects the sale of the property. It becomes a liability when they go, well, wait a minute, I'm buying it now, I got a $20,000 encumbrance on a sewer. You didn't disclose this, or I want it reduced so you could have some friction between a buyer and a seller. That's happened.
Seller, not the buyer.
Oh, okay, that's right. So the seller has, okay, if that's the case, I would support that. I would support due on sale.
I thought that was our consensus last time. I thought that we liked that. Do you have any questions or comments, Mr. Poor? I think as a policy, we can do it outside of our policy right now on this one, but I would like it to be policy. Unless there's something I'm not thinking of, it seems like a way that is good for us. Yes.
Quicker and
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I'm on board with that. How do you want to do it with Mr. Porter? You want to make an exception for him since he's like kind of like the first guinea pig, or and implement the policy thereafter, or do you want to include it?
Well, I would go ahead and do it now if Mr. Battles thinks that it's easy to amend this agreement to add that.
Yeah, it actually will be this, when we bring it back next time, that documentation.
Do we have consent? Oh, Mr. Poor.
The only thing I'd like to ask, a lot of times, does this, sometimes you have to approve it before you can do it again, which might push you back to that would be Are you in agreement with it now? I'm agreeing with it now, normally, right? Now you have to see it first, approve it, and you won't be able to approve it until next time. I won't be able to, another time, unless you're able to do it.
Are we able to still complete this along the same timeline?
This won't slow it down because it has to come back to the board second way.
Okay, and so
Yeah. Right, so we're gonna have to wait a month for it to come back anyway, and when it comes back, we can part of the on sale. At that time.
I'm sorry, I assume that you will adopt new policy, whatever you adopt and like.
I don't think that the board will be adopting a new policy next month. I think that will be some time for the board to discuss. So this is just be a change to the agreement that will include a provision that isn't specifically included right now in the policy. So it will be part of the policy in that regard.
But to be clear, we are still on the same timeline, and when it comes back to the board, when we approve it, if and when, I assume that we will approve it, then you'll still be able to move forward. Okay, so would you like us to take a vote? Okay, so looking for a motion to, well, I meant on that one thing, but we need a motion on the whole thing. So should our motion include the change that we just talked to Mr. Battles about, or should that be a separate motion, Rick?
I think we all are the same motion.
Okay, so what I'm looking for then is a motion on 6A, which would be to, I'm looking for a motion to review and approve this installment payment plan, including the cost and terms in the agreement for APN 141360025, and to direct staff to publish a protest hearing notice and bring the approval resolution to our board, the August meeting, and to include the full payment due at time of sale. So that's the motion I'm looking for. If somebody can say it more concisely than me, that would be cool.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so Mr. Beard has made the motion. Huh?
As stated.
Okay, very good. And do we have a second? And Director Redfern seconded.
Okay, so we have a motion by Director Beard, a second by Director Redfern, to approve the installment payment plan, including the cost and terms of the agreement for APN number 141-025, and direct staff to publish a protest hearing notice and bring the full resolution back to the board at the August meeting, and to include a due on sale. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern, Director Amber.
Aye.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Hi. Okay, now we will move to action item 6C, and this is an update from our interim general manager, John Dornalis, on Horizon Drive.
Okay, so this is we try to do these Horizon Drive updates monthly to your board, especially will become necessary with new information at the end of the month until the project rolls out. This is another update. Specifically, give your board an update on the status of a few items. First is the loan application, that's actually discussed in item 16 also. Our Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan. Staff has prepared the general information, the details of the community, the financial specifics that we will submit. Technical package also needs to be included in the area for that. The environmental side of the project, the project is a small pipeline with some half mile. We have to go through a CEQA review. That size of the project is categorically exempt. Under CEQA, your board will make that determination, and that documentation will be sent to the water board. It is federal money. We have some federal environmental review to go through, similar to CEQA, but there are some differences. Your board on February 19th hired a consultant to assist if needed. We have not used that consultant yet in environmental work. That will start soon. Not necessarily the CEQA, but definitely the big item tonight is an update on the Heather and Jewel have a restarted easement process. This work was originally started in 2016, 2017. Your board approved a new contract with them on February 20th, 2020. Some of their prior work can be used, and it has they have restarted. There are 3 parcels we're looking for easements from: a Larson, Hart, and Reed parcels. We need to connect from Highway 246 to Horizon Drive. Henry and Jewel have corresponded with those property owners. They will connect with them and talk with them and process. All these property owners have heard about the process and they got documentation back in 2016. So they did in fact receive it again with slight changes. Really not much has changed. Except maybe for the lead properties and the property. The recent project that was done and the slight change in the pipeline alignment along the main property. Slight changes there. In effect, we have 3 easements of all about 3,000 square feet. 10 feet wide, a permanent easement with an extra 5 feet on top of that during construction, the temporary easement during construction. That is what we are talking about. You know, these pipeline easements are always challenging to some degree for private landowners. They're concerned with loss of their property, valuation of their property, what they're receiving from us. Existing structures that they have on the property, the pipeline is going through, landscaping or structure. Hammer and Jewel has initiated an internal appraisal for the Hart and Larson property, and an internal appraisal for the Lee property. Internal meaning they will hire a separate appraiser that will come in and do an appraisal on that piece. That will then provide information to Hammer and Jewel and property. The third-party appraisal will slow the process up slightly. The Hammer and Jewel expects to get this all done by August, or the end of August. The Hart and Larson appraisals will be done quicker than that, because they're being done by Hammer and Jewel internally. So we're looking at probably August meeting, some evaluations, and then offer dates to the property with Lee. If anyone disagrees with the evaluation, then the process allows them and us to hire a third party to do the appraisal. Share the cost on that. If there's still a disagreement or there's no settlement on an offer, then we move to the next process. That would be intense. And extend the process out. We don't believe we'll end up there. Hammer and Jewel didn't want me to bring forward to the board the concept of appointing staff or legal counsel to review the valuations, set the compensation based on the value, based on the appraisal, based on the valuations, and simply try to speed the process up. What the idea is this is a few pieces before, but it's here's the appraisal, here's the offer we're going to make, here's the check, here's the rather than here's the offer, here's the appraisal, here's what we think, now we're going to bring it to the board and we'll talk to you. One minute, really, that probably needs to be done 3 weeks or a month. At least one of the property owners is hesitant about to use it. Not technical, because of the process, paperwork, the disruption, often the easements, it is a matter of the offer. Sale of property. So,
I think I understand. You're saying that this is going to go a lot smoother and quicker for everyone involved if we authorize somebody on staff, be it the general manager or council. Does anybody on the board have a problem with that?
based on, potentially based on last week's amount. And I don't know the dollar amount specifically for these. Probably not talking $10,000. Probably less than that.
You made a comment about receiving and giving exchange being at the same time, just to expedite that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Without, and that's, I'm not specifically advocating. They asked me to bring it forward.
I think that's a good idea.
Otherwise, it's they come to evaluation, we'll put an offer, we bring the agenda it.
I would like to do anything we can to expedite that place down there. They've been through so much for so long. And if it saves a week here, 3 days there, pretty soon it all adds up. So I'm on board with the exchange.
Yeah, I understand the dynamic of it because I agree. If somebody says, well, I think that sounds good. And then you go, oh, you're bored and blah, blah, blah. And then you come back, well, I talked to my neighbor and she got 30.
Also use checks. Let's just put in cash.
Yeah, just.
That always looks more attractive.
Yes.
Rick, do you have a, do you feel that it's something we can direct, like, general manager?
Yeah, I think you could do that. I think the not to exceed amount, be not a guess, $10,000, but instead a fair market value of people that's determined by under rules, appraisers. You can't pay more than that anyway, you can't pay less than that. So there would be no problem with advance authorization like that. In terms of the time savings, easements are going to be acquired well in advance of the project moving forward anyway. But you could imagine that process where it is today would hold up back that so I wouldn't see that there's a big rush there. But I also don't see a problem if you're handling it that way. The motion would need to be authorized general manager on behalf of the district and an offer of full fair market value for the easements and the payment. And then we had talked with individual about making the whole easement negotiation process contingent upon the project moving forward. And so at the time you came to the easement, you're really irrevocably committed to the project and not positive you're at that point yet. So you're going to be making, and I'm not exactly sure what individual had in mind in that regard, what exactly it would say, but that is going to be the approach, and there's really going to be the need to expedite the acquisition project and make the payment all contingent upon the project finally anyway. And you may not be finished the project because if the bid comes in and doesn't have the cost is going to be, you might decide not to proceed. So the purchase of the easement might be contingent upon the district accepting bid construction of the project. That would be some time yet. Again, I'm not sure I really see moving forward that quickly. I don't know if you'll address any of those logistics and timing with these all together.
They're specifically focused on just trying to get offers approved by the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it would be great if we could get offers approved, but I don't think we want to make a payment and have these actually paid until whatever conditions we add to the process are satisfied. So maybe what the action needs to be is that the general manager is authorized to negotiate finalize offers for the property owners based on the appraised values that appraisers come back with. There wouldn't be that payment. And the understanding would be that the offers will have that condition attached to them that they're only going to go forward, the project goes forward. That makes sense. The property owners are going to have that appraisal in their hands, so they know what it is. Right. So it's not going to be really when you higher or lower, they what the appraisal is. Right. Yeah, we have often full appraised value. Yeah.
I think I understand what everybody's saying here. I wouldn't want to do something different than what the people we hire doing the easements, how they want it to go too much. I mean, if it's something that is just.
Especially if the property owner is
But everything that Rick said made perfect sense. So I think that we can do what you said, authorize the negotiation.
Authorize it, make it have to move forward, but written into their contract that if we don't move forward, it's that contract. That's
Contingent on.
It's
Yeah.
contingent upon this project moving forward.
And that will be
Yes.
processed upon.
Yeah.
could be.
So the authorization would be for the general manager to negotiate easement acquisition. But yeah, it wouldn't go as far as authorizing the payment actually acquired. The general manager
No, that makes perfect sense. And I did not introduce, I think everybody, most people here already know, Jose Acosta is our new manager. We're going to talk a little bit more about him coming on board and John leaving. But anyway, if you didn't know who this is our new GM, and we're really happy and proud to have him on board. Is there anything else you would like to say about this, Jose?
No, I understand the contract, saying that this will be the things that we will make regardless of any change. Yeah, that's what I think we would have to agree with, that's just that.
Question for you, Counselor. What, we have one that's kind of on the sideline there. Supposing they decide, I really don't want to give you the right to the easement. I don't feel, even though that's fair market value, I don't want it going through IR. We go through eminent domain at that point.
Right. And that's a pretty speedy process. The court simply determines whether or not you have the right to require an easement for the public purpose being served by this project. You have the power of eminent domain. So the court would grant, presumably, a right of entry and be able to go in and construct the pipeline project, and then the issue of valuation will be determined later. There wouldn't really be any controversy over your right to take the easement. The court would just give you the easement and say, now you can figure out how to pay for it. Now it happens with that. So the condemnation shouldn't hold up the project. It's a 3-month process.
That would be
There's an expense.
within 90 days. Would that be reasonable number?
When the gentleman from Hammer and Jewel came a few years ago and talked about the process, they were quite confident that it happens. It's a easy process and that we do get the land eventually. So people generally cooperate, but if they don't, the law is on our side there. So.
And it isn't given that you get the land eventually, you get the land more or less immediately at the purchase price.
They're waiting, not us.
I'd also like to mention this is another sidebar, the state water loan application requires you to document if you own the land or do not.
And it is to our advantage to own the property, yes.
Will be processed.
Now, is this something that we can vote on now or just direct staff?
It would probably take formal action to authorize general manager to negotiate easement acquisition.
So what we have here, I'm looking for a motion, recommend review Horizon Line project updates, including easement status and loan. They did that. And now, so we're looking for a motion to provide staff with direction on the proposed project. So it would be a motion to, Wendy, can you maybe make sense of what we've been talking about and put it in a long sentence?
These two,
Okay.
To appoint staff and legal counsel to review evaluations and set just compensation based on evaluations and approve the offer.
Very good. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
And do we have a second? So Director D'Ambra made the motion that John has written on his piece of paper. And it was seconded by Director Beard.
Here to authorize staff and to negotiate easement acquisition and approve the offer package.
Okay, so we have the motion and the second. Yes, so roll call.
Aye.
Aye. And now we will move on to action item C, which is to authorize a resolution to initiate submittal of Clean Water State Revolving Fund application for Horizon Drive project. So that is also John, I believe.
So this item will initiate the application process. The water board requires a resolution that specifies the individual within the public agency that has the authorized representative applying for the project. It will be the individual that will move forward with the application, and then of course can correspond directly with the water board and approve or disapprove with regards to the application and eventually the vote. We wanted to have to bring this forward before we actually submit. As I mentioned, most of the items are done. Financial is a big section. We will submit now, even though some items are not done. The technical package is not done. We do not have the engineering report. Mike, the engineer, will get process that. I also wanted to bring this to your board, I guess, for the last time, to look at the other options we have besides the clean water, state revolving fund. That's the item that we've been working towards. It is the cheapest money, but it is it's more difficult money to get. They have a process to go through that's very bureaucratic. State of California. So they have a lot of hoops to jump through, which we are jumping through those. Some of these will become have some expense. The engineer report will have an expense associated with that. That's a relatively small project. It should not be a large report, but a large project would be an engineering report. The other option we have briefly looked at the past is the SYCSD. So that is a association we belong to. They SYCSD finance, they don't loan money, they act as a broker, commercial bank. And the big advantage with them is there's no lengthy bureaucratic application process. Finally, down the line, you have to ensure that you can pay it back. In our case, however, it is a current clean water state revolving fund is at 1.4% interest rate. SYCSD finance, they quoted us at 2.9. So almost double. So they would only loan for 15 years for this project. While the state board, the water fund would loan for 20 to 30 years. The state board project couldn't get paid off earlier than 20 years. The one Horizon connects to the project, interconnection fee, we can pay the loan off without a penalty. The SYCSD finance can also be paid off. But this is not the final loan approval per se, or we do take this last step and incur more costs. I want to bring back to the board a little more about the other options we have. SYCSD finance this building. That's how the SYCSD pays this building. It's not a true loan, it's a lease purchase agreement. It looks like a loan, acts like a loan. They are leasing the building, we make the payments are finally made, loan is completed, and you own the building. The project, sewer project, would be the same thing.
That's the state that's $100,000, even though it's worth more. State $100,000 in interest.
Now, it's obviously more attractive when you think of the bottom line.
What if there was more cost involved in it? Or do you have an estimation about how much more it costs?
Probably not. The state board also has the potential to say, okay, it's a great project, we'll put you on the list for the next funding. We're assuming we'll get funded immediately. It's a good project to us. Gosh knows the private residents want it, but you can't tell if the state board's going to approve it or not. They rank projects to A through Z, and they put you somewhere in that ranking, and they say, this year we're going to fund A through F or A through S.
And I would think that $100,000 is waiting for a safety. I mean, I know that they're up against it, but $100,000 is what they're on.
How long do you think it'll take to get an answer from them?
Water board, we submit now, at least in the next 2 weeks. Engineering has to follow, the land acquisition has to follow. So the land that we've already owned is going back. expect it to give us some idea of the next 3 or 4 years.
And if we go that route and it doesn't pan out, we can still get the money from the CSD.
So we borrow money from the state.
I think we should continue that route with the backup of, you know, the CSD money.
Right, the CSD is gonna be there. We should pursue this. And then where did I read about the disadvantaged community thing? Is that part of the state?
And there's partial grant funding, 0% interest. Data so far, it's based on the median household income, you have to be 80% below the state level, saying that.
We are
Right,
considered,
right.
the district is considered in a disadvantaged area.
When I looked at the dollar amounts,
Uh-huh.
it did not.
It didn't, oh.
I'm a little surprised too, only because I think of the people that live in those houses are often fixed income people. And so even though they're sitting in $1 million house, their income may be Social Security and a small pension. So they may be below the median income.
We submit the state doesn't know. They do. They look at it. When I simply look at the median household income was more than.
Right, I agree with that, but I'm not trying to be a troublemaker, but it would be nice if they could look at the median income of the people that own those houses on Horizon, because the people that I know that live there are all retired. There may be some young families living there, but the people I personally know, they are living on Social Security and a pension. So their income is probably significantly lower than the average. Worth looking at if there's a way to do that.
The application does just provide specifically the location of the address. Whether they state zeroes in that closely.
Yeah.
The household income of that street. Versus any of that.
Might just do it.
The CSD,
Yeah.
we could make that argument, develop an analysis.
Okay, just throw that in there. So what I'm hearing from my colleagues here is we're going to pursue the state loan, and if it seems like it's dragging or it's starting to cost too much money getting things together, then we can do Plan B, which is CSD. But we'll try and do it for less money first. Right?
We need adoption of resolution 28, authorizing the general manager to submit.
Okay, so is there a motion? Let's see, to adopt resolution 2008, authorizing the general manager to submit a CWSRF application for the Horizon Drive Mainline Sewer Project. Director Beard made the motion. Director Redford seconded. Wendy?
Aye.
Hi. Thank you, Wendy. So now to 6D, which is also John, and also Mike is in the meeting. Yes, I think, yes, he waved.
Yep. I'm going in.
This is the attachment proposal from a year engineer, Canada Associates, Mike Gilmore, to provide some support for our state revolving fund loan, bidding, and construction services. The Horizon Drive project is a public works project. A list of procedural requirements and legal requirements to go through. Besides plans, there's noticing and bidding, construction management, variety of processes to get the project actually done. It's not just drawing up plans. I brought this forward just so your board can see what the entire project will cost in regard to engineering support. Now, there is staff will be able to provide many of these services as kind of a conservative estimate. $4,000 is kind of material tasks. I kind of summarized it into 4. The first one will be the state revolving fund. We do need some direct support on that. As I mentioned, they require a stamp, signed report from an engineer about the alternatives to the project we considered, a variety of things. Half-mile pipeline project. So I think Mike can work with Joe on that and make sure it's not in the page. But they'll require some level of approval. And if they don't like it, they'll ask for a level. Water will. Plans and specs, as I said, the plans are about 90% complete, but we need to put specifications together for the project. Specifications are everything. It's the detail of the workmanship, how things get done, how things get completed. There's the in-depth explanation of the project. Those are important. If you have good plans and specs, you avoid communication problems, change orders, cost overruns, things like that. Specifications will be finalized. And then there's the actual thing. Let's say, again, the process to go through that we're required to. Contractors will have questions during the bidding process that have to be answered. Formal agenda submitted. A variety of things to go through during the actual approval of the contract. Finally, construction management. Once everything is all done, you're about to build the thing. There's often a benefit to have some level of construction management services. You're actually building the project. Some projects may not need it, they're less complex. This one is going through 3 private pieces of property in a public street. Can't imagine there won't be a number of questions and issues contractors have. Contractors, like it or not, they often don't seem to read the plans until they actually get awarded the project. They don't seem to read the plans until they get awarded the project. And then when they're on site, they're asking questions and wondering about things. Those questions need to be answered quickly. Having construction services there, professional engineer or some kind of construction management service. Not necessarily do you require construction management services. A lot of that will depend on who you award the project to. A little bidder, is it a company that is familiar with, company within our county or nearby county, that can be done work here before or not. Not that there's anything wrong with a contractor from out of town, but you don't have a relationship with them. So the idea of construction management can be made at a later time.
What is the, they work on a percentage of the job, the cost, or on an hourly basis?
On an hourly or a daily. Whether you want a CM person there a couple of hours a day or 8 hours a day, or the project's not going to be a long project, not many days, but it's a dollar.
Can you use them as a consultant to the GM?
They're on the project. They know the public resources code, know your plans and specs, and that's all it is. The law and your plans and specs. When the contractor says, "I have an idea to change here. What do you think?" I have a better idea. These contractors' ideas are rarely the same. Sometimes they're good ideas, they're good caution, but sometimes they're good ideas. And that decision needs to be made. And I'm not a construction manager. I've been around projects, but I'm not that built person. And you know, as I say, you can do this project without a lot of these services. I know one district recently that is recoding their water tanks, $1 million project. They've done most of the services themselves. But putting this pipeline in the ground, some of this pipeline will be 25 feet deep, going to the deep piece of the private property. So they want to bring this forward so your board can see we can do this work, the board can do this work under Canada's existing contract.
I want to back you up. You said 25 feet deep through this property?
But some of
The line?
at least on the street, it's a deep pipe.
Really? 25? I didn't know that. I was thinking 10, 12.
Right.
Yeah, Mike is sitting right here nodding while you're talking.
Oh, yes, really what I have. $44,000 of the time and materials. That Mike tried to lay it out here, of the parts and pieces. We and Dave will do the front end documents, the video documents. Some of the publications, bid publications to be done internally, or here we need to do that. But at least it provides a proposal to the board to see what it takes.
They're expecting to run into groundwater in 25 feet, I'm sure. Have lots of infiltration.
Are you asking Mike? Did you hear that question, Mike?
Oh, it was a little bit muffled. Could you repeat it?
We're expecting to find plenty of groundwater in this project, I assume.
Correct. Yes.
And so there's going to be a lot of pumping going on trying to keep it dry.
Correct. Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of dewatering and gravel bedding for the pipe zone. So yeah, it'll be a little bit more work than just digging a shallow trench, putting the pipe in the ground.
Very shallow.
Does anyone have any other questions of Mike? Or Mike, did you have any comments or anything you wanted to add to what John said?
No, it sounded like he went through the process and the summary pretty well. So yeah, I'm good with
Okay,
that.
how about you, Jose? Did you have any comments or anything you wanted to interject?
Well, as John said, there's some of these things that we can do internally, doing the bid process, opening packages, announcing the winning bid, things like that we can do internally. As far as construction management, there is a dollar proposal in here that's optional. We can decide to go that route. We just authorize staff to be able to approach Canon when needed to do construction management and get their professional opinions. The 44,000 spread exactly what they will be assisting with, and the construction management is separate from that. So that would be based off of how much we use them now.
Okay, then Rick, did you have something?
Yeah, in terms of the format of the proposal from a contract point of view, oftentimes the consultant engineer will provide a proposal and it will be just that. This is what we're proposing to do, and it stops there. And the board accepts the proposal, and then you end up without having a formal written binding contract. We have a proposal that was accepted. When we get a proposal like that, sometimes this district will add to it a standard addendum. We've done that with half a dozen contracts in the past I can remember. And it takes the proposal and it turns it into a contract by saying, foregoing proposal, which I agree to, here are all our standard terms and conditions that go along with it. And there you include address things like insurance, indemnity, and then all the boilerplate contract provisions that you'd like to have, attorney's fees, notices, termination, who owns the documents that are being prepared by the engineer, that kind of thing. In this case, the proposal is also a formal contract. It's got a place to sign off and say, we hereby agree that this is what's going to happen. And then it goes on to the standard terms and conditions. So all these issues are addressed, but they're addressed in a way that's favorable to and protective of Canon, which is what you would expect. And so in almost every case where I review the standard terms and conditions provided by an engineer, I've got a number of suggested changes. Indemnity area, insurance area, Google documents, disclosure, things like that. I haven't been asked to review this contract, so I didn't want to take the time to do it without authorization, and I just throw it out there. You would have the option of having to review their standard terms and conditions, and to the extent that there are provisions in there that don't work for the district's advantage, you have to negotiate revisions. Want to give you that opportunity before you approve the contract. I'm not looking for additional work. I'm just suggesting that. I wanted you to be aware of the fact that I haven't gone through all the standard terms and conditions. It's an hour of working process to do that. And then the comments with districts, I didn't want to do that without authorization.
Okay, Director Beard, do you have an opinion there?
I think that we can direct council to go through this contract and make the changes or make the suggested changes.
Yeah, I understand. When I'm making an agreement, I'm going to be concerned with taking care of myself. And yeah, both parties should do that. Yes, Director Redford.
Another question for our engineer, and that is there a way to estimate the amount of groundwater that a contractor is going to get 25 feet? So when they place a bid, takes that into effect, so we're not, kind of coming around behind them and slamming them in the head. Is there actually a way to come up with a number so that they would know what they're getting into? Or do we just let them find out, knowing that we have a problem?
Yeah, we really won't know unless we went out there and did some sort of test pump, but you'd have to drill a little well and
Right.
see how much water you're pulling out of the ground. I mean, I think maybe the way we'll structure it in the bid documents is maybe we can have like a daily rate just to de-water, and that way that'll kind of work for their pump standby time and getting rid of the water. But we can look at some other options too to try and quantify that a little bit better. That might be an easier way to do it.
Mike, now there's some number, some volume that you guys, when you bid the water issue down there, what happens if it's substantially more? It's 2 weeks worth of pumping, and you guys said, gee, I've never seen this before. Usually 3 days at 600 gallons an hour or 600 gallons a minute, however you're pumping to get it out of there, and we're going to be here for 3 additional weeks. How are you going to calculate that if you can, and how are we going to figure out a cost on that? What's your experience tell you?
Are you saying just getting rid of the water or pumping it out of the trench?
Whatever it takes to get the pipe in there and get it back covered. I don't care if we sell it as, holy water. I'm just concerned that we have a volume of water we ever didn't anticipate, and we've had a lot of symptoms there that could really be the case at 6 feet. Now I get 25. I'm going, oh, that could be substantial. Would you say that's a fair statement?
It's a possibility. Yeah, it really depends on where we're pumping the water to. We can.
Where do you take the water? Do you pump it in trucks, or what's the usual way to dispose of it?
Well, there's a couple ways to do it. Yeah, you could pump it into a truck and haul it off, or you could discharge it just into the normal drainage system. You'd have to do a little bit of filtering and making sure that nothing is contaminating it, but it would just kind of go into the natural discharge, kind of the storm drain system or the creek system, kind of like rainwater would.
Well, let me ask you, what could you pump a day if you ran into the scenario, which I got a funny feeling that might not be unusual for what we've seen there so far. What can you pump a day, and what would that cost per day to pump X gallons out? I'm trying to get a number, a ballpark number, if I may.
It really would just depend on the cost or the size of the pump. If we do run into more groundwater than expected, and they can't just pump it out of the trench with like a sump pump, and they have to get like a rain for rent out there, you might go from a few $100 a day to pump it out to $500 or $600 a day or $750 a day to pump it out.
That's to pump it. That includes the transportation to get it out if we have to go to trucks as opposed to a drain.
If you got to put it in trucks and haul it off, there would be additional costs associated with that.
Additional.
Okay. What would that be? $750 a day for a truck?
Yeah, possibly something like that. Sure.
Really, you're just looking to see how much trouble we could get in quickly if we don't properly anticipate how wet it
Yeah,
is.
I'm just concerned with the water level at 6 feet.
Sure. But we would be wise to put in a couple of test wells ahead of time. Part of our
And
just to know.
okay, and so at this point, I'm wondering, are we getting into the engineer's work here? Like, I think it's good to
Make everybody aware
Where?
that it's wet air.
I agree, and probably a lot wetter than people, oh yeah, we've dealt with water before. It's a bad spot, sure. So, but what do we need right now to move forward? We got a few different questions. One is taking this proposal and making it more of a contract is one of the things on the table. And then we also need assurances that we're not going to have some hidden cost pop up that doesn't get put into the bid. Is that what you and Bob are both
Well, I don't
saying?
know that you could ever have those assurances. I'm just saying we need to figure out or anticipate, have some kind of a reserve if that exists.
Well, Mike,
Typically, we put a contingency in the budget.
yes, I remember we talked about this last time, how much was baked into the cake on this, that he puts, you have a buffer there. What did you say? It was like 20% or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, it can vary by project, but somewhere between 15 to 20, sometimes up to 30% if you are expecting something awry to happen.
So it's an insurance policy for you guys to cover our contract there. And that usually comes to fruition. You can do it within those numbers that you anticipated. I'm just real concerned with the water potential there.
That contingency is a construction
Yeah,
cost for it built.
yes.
Otherwise, the staff can come back to the board at the next meeting with a cost analysis briefly of what a test well is going to cost, how you permit for that, and how you analyze the water around the project.
My feeling is of all the potential issues with this whole project, there's nothing more potentially costly than the water level.
That we don't have to suck all the water out of the area, we just have to suck the water that's coming in faster than it's coming in. So, while you're moving along, you're only sucking out so many areas as it gets completed and the pipe's laid. Then we move on and they suck from one
And
into the
it
next area, right?
Yeah.
A lot of contingencies with all the septic tanks. That's why we're doing the project.
Right.
How quality water we can.
And then Jose, did you have something that you wanted?
That's true. I don't know, Mike, can we put this in the bid package to include test wells to the bidders, the bid for test wells? Because we're also looking at starting this project in the spring, which is after the rainy season, and we can't anticipate this coming rainy season, know how it's gonna affect that groundwater. It could be more, I think it could be less, and it could be cleaner. That is absolutely correct. But can we include that? I know we're looking at driving up the cost here some, but maybe include that in the bid package for the contractors to bid on test wells, inclusive of the rest of the work.
Yeah, we could definitely add that in if that's something we want to entertain for sure. I mean, it would be one of those things that they would sub out to somebody and have that kind of performed. So I guess whether or not you want to include that in the package and have contractor markup on it, or if we want to, the district wants to go out and just perform that yourselves, might save a little money, and you'd have that information up front to give to the contractor before they bid. And I'm sure they would appreciate that.
But would you recommend performing the test wells after the spring, after the rainy season?
Yeah, really, I guess it depends on timing of everything when we think this would go into construction.
Are we able to do that in-house? Do we have what we need?
Can't perform that work. We have a
Yeah.
contract. That possibly would require a whole nother bid. Anything on the cost.
Typically, what does that run, you know?
Sorry, how much does it run?
Yeah.
I don't have that price off the top. Especially with depending on how many miles we're.
How many zeros does it have? It probably has 4 zeros.
A gentleman in the public has a comment?
Joe Bargett, Transfer Services. A couple years ago, we put in a lift station. The lift station was about 25 feet deep, and we were concerned by groundwater as well. And we used the San Francisco lift system. I think the terminology of the board is not necessarily as well. We have them come out and identify where the groundwater level was, call it the calculation. Hopefully, might get away with just
That sounds far more affordable. I like it.
Didn't have anything about, I personally would want to know. You want to know how much water.
Right. But at some point, I like these questions, but I think I'm going to have to trust the technical people to know what it is they need to do. Any other comments?
I have a comment would be in regards to the original item. Can it simply do this work under our existing contract?
Yes, we can. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you guys by putting our terms and conditions in there. We do have a master service agreement or a contract with the district, and I believe we can perform these tasks under that agreement that has already been reviewed and agreed to several years ago.
How about that, Mr. Battles?
Yeah, I don't remember reviewing it, but I review a lot of these kinds of contracts. If I reviewed that when we negotiated changes, then we could either agree that those same changes be made to these standard terms and conditions, which would shorten my review time of this one, or I think what's being asked is whether we need this contract at all, whether we just have this proposal be accepted and the work done pursuant to the contract.
That's what I understood.
And Mike, do you know whether I reviewed that prior to the existing contract that the district has with you?
I'm not sure. But let me get with my accounting people and contracts people, and we can pull it out and dust it off and see where that came from and who reviewed it, I guess.
Okay, because I'm trying to figure out what we need to move forward right now. So direction to staff that Mr. Battles and Mr. Acosta will work with Canon.
I think the motion would be to accept the proposal and have services be performed pursuant to the district's existing contract with Canon, which is subject to review by district council and general manager to make sure that those terms are still acceptable.
Okay, that Mike is nodding his head. That's also what I understood.
Yes, that's good with me.
That's okay. Okay, so what I'm looking for then is a motion as stated by Mr. Battles. And then do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And then Wendy, can you read it back before we vote?
So we have a motion by Director Beard and a second by Director Dan to accept the proposal from Canon and to perform the services as a new current contract.
Subject to review and approval by district council and the general manager.
Then have it subject to review and approval by the district.
Yes.
Aye.
All right. Okay. Now we're going to move on to action item E, which is a management consulting agreement. And this also I will have John talk about. That's what? No. Okay, so, yeah.
Interim general manager's employment terminated once retired from the general manager. And the board gave direction to maintain services with the interim general manager, Mr. John, to do analysis or any consulting questions that the new general manager may have, and provide staff with any guidance of any past practice or perform knowledge of the SYCSD. And so the district gave direction for Mrs. John in an agreement. Contract and agreement is in contact with the district by the consulting services. the, contract that Mr. John Brown submitted, and it is a consulting agreement, and the consulting agreement will take effect today if approved by the
Okay, and Mr. Battles, did you have an opportunity to look over this agreement?
Yes.
Did you have any comments or anything with it?
No.
Good. Well, I read it. Did the other directors have an opportunity to go through it? Yes, the point of this, I talked to Jose, I think it was on Monday when I came in. We really feel happy and blessed to have Mr. Dornalis. I still don't know if I'm saying your last name right, John. So informal. To have had him here to help with our hiring of the new GM. And we want to make your transition as smooth as possible. We have a lot of confidence in you and we're excited to have you get in here and get going. But I think everybody on the board agreed, including Mr. Miller, who isn't here. We like the idea that you can call John and as you know, needed, and you may not need him much at all, but just in case, I think he's a great resource. And same with Wendy. I know Wendy has, we've all benefited a lot from having you here, John. And so just thank you. And I'm glad that you're willing to stay on and help as needed.
I appreciate that. I don't think those days gonna come. In case something comes up here,
Okay, well, I guess I'm just looking for a motion for the board to approve this contract. Then let's see what it says on the recommendation. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consulting agreement with John Dornalis.
I'll make the motion to approve the agreement with D.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion.
We have a motion by Director Lambert and a second by Director Peters
Aye.
Hi. Okay, now we're almost. So now we're going to go to manager's report and Mr. Acosta and Mr. Dornalis. I don't know if you're doing it together or however you want to go. Maybe you both have a little report to give us.
There's no written report. As of Monday, I started. Obviously, we have a bunch of projects that we're anticipating that I had helped that along. Mr. Giovanellis over the last few weeks. Once we affirmed my appointment, and I met a couple of times, discussed the project, some of the staff issues, concerns. We've discussed projects that are out there that we're interested in pursuing, and how we're going to go about that. That's going to be meet the listen to the board concerns, the thoughts and ideas of how we want to move forward with SYCSD. Like you mentioned earlier, been very fortunate to have someone like John who was here prior to my arrival. His skill set and knowledge of past practices being the general manager allowed him to come in and make a smooth transition for everybody, and allowed me to come in and have a position. John said he thinks I'm not going to be calling that much, but better have his phone ready. Quite a few questions. Being my first few days here, I really don't have much more to report other than that. I've been working with Wendy the last few days. I feel for the next 3 months to be counting her years out. So for that, and working very closely on staff concerns, issues, needs, wants, how we go about addressing those.
Wow, no, I'm fading away. It's been great. I have enjoyed it. Help the board, consultants, my staff. And I'll be interested to see how Horizon goes.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Well, no, I'm going to get called or not. I'm going to check it out and look it up and see how. So otherwise, but yeah, I think those days, not going to be much. But gotta make money. Otherwise, I'm just cruising around.
Looking for your next hired gun job. He's now a consultant.
I wasn't looking for this one, but it'd be great, yeah.
No, he's not such a good friend anymore, huh? No, John has went from being a retired guy to a specialist. Now he specializes in hiring new managers for small CSDs. Well, we appreciate you. We wanted to take you out to dinner, and I said, no, I think that's the anti-gift. I don't think he wants to sit around and eat with us.
This is a gift enough for you.
That's what I thought. Oh, nice. Well, I'll try and hurry it up then. And then we will go to the legal counsel's report. Mr. Battles.
I have a couple of recent developments to report on. One of them involves the Political Reform Act administered by the Fair Political Practices Commission. And I think you're all familiar with the requirement that you have to recuse yourself if you have a personal financial interest on a decision that you would otherwise participate in. So the requirements are when you've got a personal or a potential conflict of your financial interest, then you have to publicly identify the financial interest into the conflict, recuse yourself from discussing and voting on the matter, and then leave the room until after the discussion and vote or any other disposition has occurred. You can address the board in your capacity as a member of the public or public comment part of it, but other than that, you can't participate. So we've gone through that process a number of times. There are exceptions when we have to recuse yourself, but there's that general rule. There was a situation where a city council person left the meeting immediately before the issue came up and then came back after the vote, so that for the apparent purpose of not having to make the disclosure, apparently there's some sensitivity making the disclosure regarding what the personal financial was. And so he circumvented the requirement for making the disclosure just by being absent from the meeting. The regulation does say that this requirement for disclosure and refusal doesn't apply if the public official is absent from the agenda item subject to this regulation is considered. The FTC looked at that situation and said that partial absence exception does not excuse the public official from making the identification. That wasn't the intent, but they amended the regulations to get rid of that exception. And so now if you're there for any part of the meeting, you have to make that disclosure and all of those requirements. So there's a new requirement to be aware of when this issue comes up.
It's good to know. I've actually seen that play go down.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was interesting.
Have at the airport. They're not currently. The current board is good, but I did see it in the past. I would just slip in and out whenever something pertaining to his business was coming up.
Okay, so there's that, and then the other recent development relates to the California Voting Rights Act. You may recall that the district looked at whether or not it would make sense for it to preemptively, if you will, go to district-based elections rather than at-large elections, because a lot of districts are receiving these notices of violation, and then they're having to be required to pay attorney's fees of up to $30,000 when the person files the notice, and some agencies to avoid that just saying, well, public policy favors it. All these decisions have been shaken down by people filing complaints. We talked to a demographer who said, based on the demographics in our district, there really wouldn't be reason to make a change to basic elections to address what the act calls racially polarized voting. But other agencies are doing it in part because there's never been a lawsuit where a public agency won on one of these claims. So there's no way the proposition might fight it. Well, a decision recently came down at the Court of Appeals level. It was the first time since the Voting Rights Act was enacted that a governmental agency was actually successful in defending a claim. This was the versus City of Santa Monica. And in that case, it was involved city council, a wife had run for city council, his wife had run for city council and wasn't elected. Her husband subsequently ran and wasn't elected. And the wife ended up being the nominal plaintiff in that action. The city had a minority of Latino population. Latinos were the protected class in this case. Something like 10 or 13%, I guess it was 10% of the population, 13% of the registered voters, the other way around. And the court determined that even if you set up districts in order for purposes of electing the directors, the best you could do was have 30% Latinos in the district. That would be the maximum concentration that you achieve through any kind of reconfiguration or configuration of the boundaries. That would change the outcome. And so the current at-large system is not having the effect of causing racially polarized voting, because the same thing would happen even if you set up districts. And that's really the first time that the court has looked at it that way. Up until now, the court decisions have all said if statistically there's racially polarized voting, i.e. there's a protected class that's unable to elect someone that they would like to elect, their purposes are different from the rest of the population. You just show that statistically. It doesn't matter if it was intentional, it doesn't matter if it has an actual effect. That's all you have to show in the election. So that the test of the change now is significant. There was also an equal protection claim saying that the minorities were being denied equal protection under the law because they were being denied their opportunity to elect their representatives. And the court said that there was no equal protection challenge not succeed because even if the city knew that the practical effect of their current voting system was to, in effect, exclude minority representation on the city council, that wasn't their intent. That wasn't the purpose of it. And they went back and they looked at records going all the way back to 1944, where there were discussions and reasons offered for having district-wide elections, and there was never any intent to discriminate or minorities off the city council. So in the absence of a specific intent to accomplish that purpose, it could be a equal protection violation, even though at different times in history, it's clearly determined and everyone would know that certain types of voting arrangements have discriminatory effect.
Like the South after the Civil War?
Like what?
The South after the Civil War?
I don't know if that's.
Yeah, they had a real problem letting anybody but Democrats vote in the South after the Civil War. They were in kind of a bad mood.
Yeah, so there you go. Some valid objective that was thought to be achieved. So those are just two recent developments.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that, because one of the things I've been frustrated with is when somebody said, well, we're not going to fight it because nobody's ever fought it and won. So when you're right, but you're not going to do what's right because, well, no use, you're going to lose. I hate that argument. So I'm happy that Santa Monica was successful there and we don't have to hear that. No, we'll just like go along with it even though it's wrong because we're going to lose anyway.
This was a court of appeals opinion, and
No, probably not. And anyway, but good update. That was one of Bob's favorite things he's voted on since he's been here. We need a district voting for our 800 houses. But anyway, thank you, Rick. Interesting. Okay, and now treasurer, secretary's report.
All I have is elections is open, so.
I do have a little bit. See, this is another thing. I don't know how much we can mix political with board meetings and running for re-election is political, but just an announcement that they are allowing people to pull their papers online from the Santa Barbara clerk's office. Just a little heads up. We can talk if anybody has any questions about it after the meeting. Yeah. What do you think, Rick? Should we even be discussing whether we're running or not?
I think that should be a director comment. I don't think we're just involved with the Brown Act or otherwise.
Okay, yeah, I think the filing period is open now through August something or other, but yeah, anybody running needs to get on it, but we can get on it online. So, okay, and then we had a financial committee meeting. Was that since in between our last meeting and this? Do we have a report from them? Okay. Okay. Any other directors' comments? Okay, well, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion. Adjourn the meeting.
Okay, and Director Redfern seconded.
Okay, a motion by Director Gambra and a second by Director Redfern to adjourn the meeting at 6:55.
Yes, that's amazing. With two managers, we actually got through the meeting quicker. Mike, yes.
Still here. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you chiming in and calling in. I'll be in contact with you later this week as well.
Sounds good. Great. Take care.
Bye, Mike. Thanks a lot.
Bye, guys.